Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I turned this plastic mirror from Walmart, pretty sure it was $20, into this. I'd seen a mirror online that was so beautiful, and it was this mustard yellow with gray, a chippy paint look. I loved it, but I didn't love the price, so I thought I would do it myself. Everything that I'm using in this video, pretty sure I got at Walmart. I started off by wiping the surface area down and then spray painting it with this rustoleum charcoal gray in satin finish. The color itself is a lot lighter than the color that shows on the cap, so that threw me off a little bit. And when I was done spray painting it, I wasn't sure about my choice, but I just ran with it, and I'm glad that I did because it looked really great in the end. I only applied one coat, but it was a very heavy coat. If I came back to an area, I waited about a minute in between. I was pretty far away from the frame, and I also moved around because I wanted to make sure that I avoid any dripping. But because it was a heavy coat, I allowed this to dry for 24 hours. I wanted to make sure that it was 100% dry before I went in with the chalk paint. And this one is from Waverly. It's in the color Curry. I love this color. It's so beautiful by itself, but in contrast with the gray, I think it looks amazing. I used a Waverly paintbrush as well. I love the size of this, but it does shed quite a bit, and I've used this brush a few times, and I've washed it a few times, and it still sheds quite a bit, so just an FYI. But I love the amount of surface that it covers. And when I applied the first coat, I wasn't too worried about getting it 100% opaque. I just made sure that I got the paint into every single part of the frame as much as possible. When it came into these little crevices or detailed areas, I pressed it down, kind of like stamping it on, and wiggled it in. But again, I wasn't too worried about getting it into every specific spot the first time around, and I was also going to come back with two smaller brushes anyways. These two are also from Waverly. They come in a 3-pack, and these I use to get deep down into the little, like the flower details and just the areas that I couldn't reach with the larger brush. This is the first coat, completely dry. As you can see, it covers really well. It's not 100% opaque, but considering the base was dark, I think the coverage is decent. And I am going to come back with a second coat. And even with the second coat, I want to get it more to look opaque, but not in every area. I'm not too worried about that. And the same thing that I did the first time, I went in with a small brush to get into the little details. This I did pay attention to a little bit more, into the little crevices. So I just made sure to step back, walk around the frame, just to see if I was missing anything. And this is 2 coats on. As you can see, even some areas I missed, but I was okay with that. Now, you can leave it like this and not go any further, but there's nothing protecting the surface of this, so I am going to go in with some wax. And before I even put wax on it, I'm going to distress it more because I want the gray to peek through, and I feel like once I rub it or buff it off, it's going to bring out the little details of this frame, which is what I love about it. And I want to say this part is what took the longest, is rubbing the paint off. In some areas where it didn't want to come off with just the rubbing, I kind of scraped it off a little bit with my nail, and that worked really well. And the cloth that I'm using is a microfiber cloth. It's not 100% soaked, like dripping wet. And I also used it to smooth out any brush strokes or anything like that. I didn't want to use a sandpaper because it would remove too much and then sand it down to like the white, the actual plastic of the frame. The clear wax that I'm using is from Waverly. It is on the liquidy side. It's different. I've tried the bare one, and that one's very solidified. This one's more liquidy. I shaked it up a little bit, and I used a synthetic brush that's not too dense, and it worked out really well. I don't have a wax brush, so this is what I had. This is what I used. I just make sure to smooth out any of the little lumps that are left from the wax, and it worked out really well because it was very flexible. It got into the little nooks and crannies, like the little flower details and stuff like that. I just wanted to make sure that it was completely covered because this is what's going to be protecting the surface area. I do recommend that you get any distressing done before you do this step, because once this is done, then you can't really buff any of the paint away. I allowed this to sit for, I think the recommended amount is 24 hours. So I let it cure for about 24 hours. All right, here I'm just removing the tape and newspaper, and here you can see how shiny some areas look a little shiny because I've already buffed it. I just used an old pillowcase that was 100% cotton. That's what's recommended on the back of the wax bottle, is to use 100% cotton cloth. I didn't want it to be completely shiny everywhere, so I didn't do every single area of it, just in certain areas, not the entire thing. And then here I'm just cleaning off any of the paint off of the mirror with some Windex. I think it was like a Windex with vinegar or something like that. That works just as well. And I just used really my nail to get into the little areas that I couldn't reach. And this is the mirror completely done, or the frame completely done. I think it looks really, really pretty. I like all the little details that came out. I am 100% in love with it. I almost want to buy another one and put them side by side. I think that would look really pretty as well. So that's everything, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.